We've now got Gareth Accendary from Caerphilly Observer.
Prime Minister. Many people are a little bit confused by the reasoning behind garden centres reopening and now possibly golf courses. Can you explain why somebody's now able to visit a garden centre or potentially play a round of golf, but not, say, meet a family member or friend they haven't seen for maybe a couple of months for a walk?
Okay, so the first thing, we have not lifted restrictions on golf courses. I know some people are calling for it, but there's certainly no lifting of the rules around golf courses as a sector. And if you think about the rules we have, and again, start with stay at home as the basic underpinning, then permissible reasons to leave. At the moment, playing a round of golf isn't a permissible reason, but it's also important to recognise that where people are going for exercise, that there's still the requirement to stay local. So going for a walk a few miles away from your house is local. If you can walk within that couple of mile distance, that's local. What isn't local for the great majority of people is getting into a car to drive to the golf course. And that point about not driving for exercise, that's still really important to understand. With garden centres, there's a point here about both their ability to introduce social distancing, but also that it does help people in terms of the activity that they'll undertake in their own home, because we're concerned with people's health and well-being in all of its senses during lockdown. Now, this is an area where we know that more people aren't just interested in gardening, but actually the ability to help people to undertake more of that within their home environment, and it should mean that there's more likely adherence to the broader rules that we have. And garden centres should either be able to operate either click and collect services or indeed the sort of social distancing that we're all now used to seeing in a supermarket, where people have to queue, they have to wait an appropriate distance apart, and then only a limited number of people can go into that environment afterwards. And we expect those rules to be put in place by each of the centres that are now taking the opportunity to reopen. But the garden centre has to be local to you. You can't get in your car and say, if you live in Cardiff, your favourite garden centre is in Swansea, because that isn't local travel. So it really is important to think about all the rules. Stay at home as a starting point, permissible reasons to leave, and if you are leaving with one of those reasons, you need to stay local.
And then on the rates of transmission, we've seen different rates in different areas of Wales. Here in Gwent, we've seen a particularly high rates, both comparative to Wales and the rest of the UK. As we've already started to see divergence between the UK's nations slightly, what's the likelihood of lockdown being lifted at a different rate in different parts of Wales?
Well, it's theoretically possible, but I don't think it's an approach that we're going to take in the Welsh Government. If we tried to lift lockdown in Gwent, for the sake of argument, at a different pace to Cardiff or Swansea or North Wales, I think that would be very confusing as a message for the public. It would be very difficult to persuade people that you can behave in a different way in a different part of Wales itself. And I also think there's a risk that you just then have people transferring into an area where lockdown has been lifted first. And that, I think, promotes travel that would breach our current guidance on staying at home and staying local. And you also then potentially have areas where the virus may be circulating at a different level, going into those areas to actually re-trigger community transmission. So the government here is starting from the point of view that measures on lockdown will be taken across Wales at the same point in time, rather than having a different speed at in different parts of the country. And I hope that's helpful about that clarity about a single message for the whole of Wales.